To St. John's and my first Bassmaster Classic.
Preview, that is.
Growing up on the water with fishing in their blood, Matt Arey and Bryan Thrift have spent the last 10 years competing against the biggest names in professional bass fishing. Their success has landed them ranked among the top anglers in the world. If you're looking to become a better angler, then this show has all the answers. Join us and follow along to get actionable tips, tactics, and tried and true techniques directly from the pros. Welcome to Let's Talk Fish.
We're live.
100% live.
100% live. And, all right, so we are back. And apologies, I saw somebody said looks like Thrift might be taking a smoke break. He is not here. He is in Florida. He's at Okeechobee prepping for the next MLF event. He actually only had about 2 days at home, I believe it was. So he had to get things turned around pretty quick and head back down to Okeechobee. Wishing Thrift the best of luck and congrats to Smoke. I hadn't even seen him, but I got to talk to him on the phone about his
I saw him. He's good.
Okay. He doesn't have the flu anymore, otherwise he'd be posting like every day on Instagram about it. He was quarantined for anybody that doesn't follow Thrift. And did you see his Instagram?
I saw it.
So he was quarantined in the shop. And last post I saw he was panicking because his supplies were running low. Supplies meaning like Little Debbie snacks and sun drops.
The essentials.
Yeah, the essentials.
The essentials.
But Thrift's good. He's recovered. Obviously, he crushed it down at Eufaula. Congrats to Smoke for a second place finish in his first. And I got to say something because a lot of guys were going, wonder how Smoke's going to do in this new format. He's never fished that format before. Do you know Bryan Thrift? Have you ever seen the guy fish?
Yeah, he's going to do great in anything he fishes.
So, Jake Whitaker in the house. Jake, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Jake's been with us before, but I thought it was convenient to have Jake back because he just came off a top 5 finish, and anytime you can cash a check in Florida is a good tournament. But he came off a top 5 finish down at the St. Johns River to kick off the 2020 Elite Series. So congrats on that finish.
Thank you.
And we're going to get into that a little bit more here in just a minute. Real quick, guys, we have a special giveaway tonight at the end of the show. And Shiner Stash Beef Jerky is going to give away some more of their special beef jerky. Don't know what flavors, but they got some pretty awesome flavors. I can attest to that. I've tried like at least a dozen of them. I think Jake tried some of them too up at the English Choice Open House. But we're also giving away a kill shield from Gator Guards tonight, guys. So be sure to stay on until the end of the show. We've got a trivia question that Jake and I took like 25 minutes to figure out the answer to. If the answer's wrong, it's not my fault tonight.
It's right. It's right.
It's Jake's
It's right.
So,
It's one of the best questions we've had yet, though.
No, it's 100% one of the coolest questions. So
you're welcome.
We're actually going to dive into our gear. We brought some rods and reels, some baits that we use, Jake and I both. I got out of Florida with a top 10 finish, so trust me, I'm super happy about that. We brought some baits, some rods and reels to talk about our setups. Real quick, I want to mention Angler's Choice Marine, and they have a tournament trail. They have a Virginia division, and they have a North Carolina division, which North Carolina just had a tournament this past weekend on Lake Norman. Congrats to a couple buddies of mine, Buddy Black, who got big fish on the Sunday tournament. Hank Cherry, a fellow Elite Series pro, finished second in, I believe, the Sunday.
Yeah.
Was it the Sunday tournament?
I believe so.
Okay. They have a Saturday and a Sunday event, so you can fish either or. But go to AnglersChoiceMarine.com. It's a very well-run tournament. And the guys, Angler's Choice Marine is a great group of guys. You'll have a lot of fun going out there and fishing those events. But, yeah. And they're chewing at Norman, by the way, because Saturday it took 16 to get a check, I believe. Sunday, I believe it took 15 to get a check. And Big Bass was, I don't know what it was Saturday. I'm sure it was over 5 pounds. But my buddy Black had one right at 5 pounds on Sunday, which was also Big Bass. And they said they were absolutely crushing it. The lake's high. It's stained. They're catching them cranking. They're catching them slow rolling a big blade. They're catching them throwing a chatterbait. They're catching them the way we like to catch them.
Yeah, and anytime we get rain in the Carolinas in that stains up the water,
they get stupid.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term, they get stupid.
Before I forget, we're also cross-posting again tonight for the second time. We're on the Basscasters page, Titan Tungsten page, the Matt Arey page, and our LTF page. So if you want to interact with the show, ask questions, make comments that you want us to see and talk about and address, do it on the LTF page. That's the only comments we're going to be looking at to answer questions. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, so what Jeff just said, just to reemphasize that, if you're watching or if you're viewing from any of the other pages that the show is on right now live, and you want to engage with us, you want to join in the conversation, you want some questions answered, be sure you're on the Let's Talk Fish page. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Trent Lawson want to know what they're eating at Norman. Anything with hooks on it, pretty much. No, they are eating a spinnerbait really good. They're eating a chatterbait really good. I know guys are crushing them cranking. There's some jigfish caught this past weekend.
Probably about the only time you can put the shaky head up on Norman.
It's a good point. Yeah, you could
just
probably
put it up and
probably leave the spinning tackle at the house when it's high and dirty like that. I went out to Moss today over at my parents' house at Moss Lake here, and dude, it's still just a mud hole.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the water's back to normal pool, but it's still super muddy. All right, so let's jump into the St. John's event. We're going to talk about the St. John's event, and then we're going to talk about the Bassmaster Classic a little bit. The St. John's event, Jake, I'm going to let you chat about the difference. Dude, it was a different St. John's this year.
Yeah.
And tell everybody kind of what the transition we saw it go through from practice to the tournament.
Yeah. So, I mean, just from, last year being my very first year ever fishing the St. John's, and then going to this year, was really, two totally different setups. Yes, last year there was a little bit of a cool spell before the tournament, and we had those, really big, high temperature days that really pushed those fish along last year. And that's why we saw such big weights last year.
And the nighttime lows is always key in Florida.
Yeah, and this year, gosh, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. The lows
I'm
just
not
about
correcting you. You finished fifth. I finished seventh.
Well, you can correct me on the weather, but every night during practice it was getting down 30s and 40s at night.
It was. I think the last day of practice, things were starting to get good.
We were getting some warmer weather during the days, but those nighttime temperatures were still really low, and Florida fish just do not like that, and for whatever reason, they hadn't made that push yet. But during practice, like I said, cold mornings, warming up throughout the day, and like Matt said, the last day of practice was our best weather day. It got up to 75, 80 degrees, and just based on my previous 2 days of practice, and then my third day of practice, I got considerably more amounts of bites. And I
think that was a pretty common theme.
Yeah,
everybody was pretty tight-lipped until that last afternoon of practice.
Yeah,
and everybody was like, I think things are starting.
It's happening. And then if you guys followed, you saw we had the high winds. First 2 days of the tournament got canceled, and not to mention we had an off day at this tournament. So that was 3 days that we had of nobody being on the water.
100%.
We didn't know what changes were going on. We didn't know what was happening on the river. It changed. It changed from the last day of practice, 3 days of not being on the river, and then going into the first day of the tournament, things definitely changed. My first day of the tournament, I went to an area where I had the most bites on the third day of practice, just to find out that the water had left the St. Johns River.
Yeah, left was an understatement. What's up, Aaron? Aaron said, what's up, Jake and Matt? Aaron, thanks for tuning in. I think the biggest change that we saw from the time that we ended practice, from our off day to the 2 days of cancellation, that wind blew out of the south.
Yes.
30 to 40 miles an hour for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And when that happens with that tide and that big moon, and I learned a lot about a moon tide, so to speak, which I already knew that big moon keeps a lower tide lower and a higher tide higher typically.
Yeah.
When that water blew out, It never came
It
back.
didn't come back.
It
did
didn't
not
come back. For the entire event, we were at the St. John's. That water stayed, a foot below low tide?
At least.
At least a foot below low tide.
Yeah.
Made a big difference in the outcome of that tournament.
Yeah.
Had it stayed warm, and last year was a perfect storm.
Yes.
I mean, it really was. This year was a challenge to say the least, and there was the guys that were able to adapt, and I'm not sitting here bragging on you and myself, but the guys that were able to change on the fly, which I honestly, personally would be lying if I said I don't like tournaments like this. I love it, and here's why. Because I've never been a big fan of 3 and 4 days of practice, okay?
Yeah.
I want a day of practice, at least one day, not a day and a half, and that's to learn how to run around a fishery where it might be potentially hazardous to yourself or your equipment. That being said, when we took that off day and we had 2 days canceled, we started over from scratch.
Oh, yeah.
Every single person in the field had to start over from scratch, and it was all about the guys that could adapt on the fly. That came out in the end, and my hat's off to Mueller because he fished in an area that actually, funny story, is my roommates, Canterbury and West Logan, both had found those fish.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they had found.
Yeah.
But they knew it was kind of a fallback area, potentially a good area. Poor Wes, he had a good tournament. His first tournament as a rookie, finished 32nd, I believe. He actually ran to that area, I believe, later in the first day or the second day of the tournament, not to get a bite, but I think he didn't know at the time that he was fishing behind Mueller a lot too. So, but congrats to Paul on a great win down there on an extremely tough event. And I do think the fish are still in there. I think there's giants.
Yeah.
I just think the lake fish is completely different than it used to, based on the lack of grass and things like that. So who knows? The St. John should bounce back. Fisheries cycle.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get better. Jake brought his rod and reel set up, and we're going to do something a little different. We usually tell y'all what we caught them on and this, that, and the other rod and reel setups, but we actually brought our stuff tonight. And Jake brought his setup, and I'll let Jake go through his setup real quick on how he caught them, and it's pretty simple. Hey, let me tell you something about Florida fishing, guys. Don't overthink it, right, Jake?
Yeah.
Florida fishing to me is one of those deals that you don't need but about 4 to 5 days. And I know guys are like, well, yeah, but I've caught some on this, and of course you have, but 9 times out of 10, Florida tournaments are dominated on 4 to 5 techniques, and we could talk about those techniques, but Jake's got one of them right here, and this one actually gets overlooked a lot in Florida, in my opinion, but by gosh, it catches them.
Yes.
But go ahead, Jake, and show them and tell them about your setup.
Just like Matt said, I kept it super simple. Basically caught every one of my fish that I weighed in on a weightless b.a.s.s sassy stick, just a Cinco style bait.
Color?
Green pumpkin magic. Green pumpkin magic.
Not the traditional black and blue.
Not the traditional black and blue or June bug or whatever the Florida colors are. And the reason because is I was fishing in the canals. And the canals there on St. John's River, typically the water is just a little bit cleaner than it is in the lake or in the river. So the Green Pumpkin Magic was the deal there. Like I said, wacky rig. ALX Enox Wizard spinning rod was one of the rods that I used, as well as the ALX Soul 7 and the ICOS lineup. 2 great rods. Do wonderful job wacky rigging. 7-foot medium action.
Show that bait a little closer in the rig and all that stuff, because
it's hard to hear him too, because you're not on the mic.
Yeah, so you're not on the mic either, but there you go.
Just the typical wacky rig.
Yeah, you'll have to speak up too with the mic, but yeah, I'll stay in my seat when I do mine. So lesson learned right there.
There we go. Anyway, so like I said, an ALX rod, the Wizard in the Enox lineup, as well as the Soul 7 in the ICOS lineup. Like I said, 2 great rods. You can do a lot of stuff with each rod. 10-pound P-line X-braid to a P-line tactical fluorocarbon 10-pound leader, fluorocarbon leader. And, dude, I caught tons of fish around the docks in the canals. Mm-hmm. And I've got video that I'm sure people have seen, or if you watched on live, those fish would get you wrapped up
absolutely
around the docks. So really, really impressed with the P-line tactical fluorocarbon with the X braid as the main line. But yeah, like I said, I caught all my fish in the canals. On the wacky rig, I was a one-trick pony.
Kept it simple. Every fish you weighed in came on that setup right there.
That's it.
Every single
that's
one.
That's exactly right. The last day was a struggle, but it was for everybody. But I will take it. In Florida, Carolina boy in Florida, top 5.
You dang right.
I'll take it.
How many keepers each day did you catch?
Okay, so the first day I actually caught 8 keepers.
Okay.
Called 3 times. Had 16, 12, had a 5 and a 4, and 3 more keepers to go with it.
Okay.
Then the second day, I had 5 bites. Well, I'll take that back. I had 6 bites. 1 got away. And I'm sure everybody saw.
Story of my life.
That's the 7-pounder.
Caught a 4-pounder right off the giddy. And then my second bass was a 7.2, which really, really, really boosted me up on the second day. And again, just 3 more small keepers to go with that. Had 16 pounds again. That had me in third after the second day. And then the last day I caught 4 for 8 something. And
okay.
That was that.
So that was pretty common across the board. I had 7 keepers the first day, 7 the second, and 6 the third.
Yeah.
So it was a grind to say the least. Couple questions for you, Jake. One from Neil Paul. What's up, Neil? He wanted to know how long a leader you were using on your spinning rod.
6 to 8 feet worth of leader. I'm not a firm believer in needing 20 feet of leader.
Okay.
I actually like my leader not to go into my reel.
And the knot? Braid? You don't like yours to go into your reel. Okay, so
I don't.
So I don't get too panicky about that. I do wind mine up in the reel some.
Yeah.
But what knot do you use?
I'm double uni.
Double uni.
I use a double uni. There's plenty more great knots out there, but I have perfected that knot. I can tie it in about 15 seconds. So that's
here's a question that you and I discussed a little bit before the show, and this is argued tremendously across the fishing industry. And it's talking about when you wacky worm, is the hook perpendicular to the worm? Is that a factor with the action of the bait? Is it a factor with hookup ratios?
Yeah.
What's your take on that? Because you and I are on the same page.
So I actually use an O-ring, and I actually just hook. I slide the hook right under the O-ring, so it's actually parallel with the worm.
Just like me.
Just like, I have been through so many packs of worms when I hook it through there and without using a ring. And I personally have not seen a drop off in either hookup ratio, landing ratio, and I lose a whole lot less baits.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else. And I know you use a different hook than I do, but the shape of the hook's the same.
Yeah.
When I say the shape of the hook, the length of the actual shank of the hook is, we use small compact hooks. I use the Aaron Martin's Gamakatsu.
Yep.
He uses a
Hayabusa.
Yep. We both use a 2-aught when we're using a 5-inch stick bait.
Yep.
Sometimes you can get away with a 1-aught, but I don't like a straight shank. I don't like something with a long arm, simply due to the leverage that you give the fish. If you put that little hook that looks like that in his lip, and you put something that's got that long of a shank and then that hook on the end, just think about that. Okay, think about that for a minute. That gives the fish something to work with when he's turning his head and shaking it every time he jumps or makes a run.
Yeah.
My take is similar to Jake's in that I have caught a lot of fish and made a lot of money on a wacky worm, and I hook it parallel to the worm. I use an O-ring 95% of the time, really 100% now. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't 100%. And I don't see any reasons not to. I really don't. And I think Thrift, who's not here to normally argue with me, but I think he's the same way.
Okay.
So I think he's the same way. But I did see a couple comments about me getting cussed out. I didn't even tell Jake about this, but I did get cussed out. I was fishing the creek, and this fella came through. I was kind of fishing, so the water was super low, as we mentioned before, and the water had fallen out, never came back up. So we didn't ever get a high tide. We really didn't even get a medium tide, so to speak, during the event. It stayed low the entire time. What that what that did is it restricted us to fishing some of the ditches and some of the deeper channels and some irregularities and stuff. I had actually found a couple places that were deep down there, could be 3 feet.
Yeah.
And they were 2.5 to 3.5 foot of water. I found a couple hard spots in a community creek that produced a lot of fish for me by dragging a worm and things like that around. But obviously we were restricted to fishing the bank. We had to stay kind of out in the middle of this creek, and one guy just wasn't very happy about that. And what made me so angry, and I guess people saw this on live because I was on live that day, and the guy came through, and I heard him before he got to me. He was running on pad, which you can in that creek to a certain point, and then you have to idle due to the manatee zones and things like that. And he said, well, I won't quote what he said.
Yeah.
But
Just go ahead.
he used some choice words, and it was something to the effect of "get out of the GD middle of the creek," blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I looked over my shoulder, and there was 2 other boats with him, and they all had to sit down and idle by me because I was kind of in the middle of the creek. But this creek was not very wide anyway.
Sure.
And at this point, there was a turn in the creek, and honestly, anybody with a little bit of respect would have idled by me. This guy had none of that. And he also had a small young girl that was probably the age of my oldest daughter, Reese, who's 7, in the boat. And he just commits to cussing and sets his boat down and comes. And I think he gets mad. He sets his boat down and he idles up to me. And when he idles up to me, he gets right beside me and then he floors it. Like 10 feet from my boat, he just lets her eat, obviously on purpose. And what a great example he's setting for that child in the boat. And I just looked at my cameraman and I said, "Some people, you just can't, you just can't do nothing." And I'm not going to start a conflict out there for somebody that I'm not going to waste my time on somebody like that. But that was guys, just we're just doing our job. That's all there is to it. And 99.9% of the people out there are awesome. I mean, truly awesome. The spectator boats down there were great. The locals were great. But every once in a while, you have somebody that I guess maybe he just woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day or something. I don't know. But there's different ways to deal with that. And
it's funny that you were talking about that. And I don't know if any of our viewers have ever been to that region of Florida or Florida in general and have fished in canals or the backwaters of Florida. And some of the canals, you've got real nice fancy houses, real nice people. And then some of those canals and some of those creeks, there could possibly be some sketchy stuff going on.
100% accurate. 100% accurate.
And I actually haven't told anybody this story, but just because I honestly forgot about it, I had a gentleman ask me, an older gentleman, kind of a rougher guy, but asked me if we were fishing a tournament. And I said, yeah. And he asked me how much money we were fishing for. And I, told him whatever. And he asked me why I just didn't go get a regular job. And
I love it. That happened to Anthony Gagliardi.
Yeah, sure did.
Wood Cup.
It sure did. And, people like that, they just, it's funny. It's funny.
They don't get it. A lot of people see our job as a hobby, which we're one of the more fortunate ones that we turned our hobby into a job, and it is truly a dream job. But there's a lot of people out there that just don't see it like that, and you encounter one here and there, but overall, we have a lot of most everybody is awesome. I mean, absolutely awesome. Question, Jake or Matt? This is from James Bryant. He wants to know what size weight is y'all's the go-to or mostly used tungsten punching weight for flipping down around Florida? Most common size you use punching in Florida?
I'm typically either an ounce and a half. Ounce and a half. It just depends.
So
it really depends.
I'm funny.
If we're punching.
I'm going to be different. I'm an ounce and a quarter.
Yeah, there you go.
An ounce and a quarter seems to get the job done. I keep 3/4, ounce and a quarters, and 2 ounces in the boat.
Yeah.
I try not to get. I mean, I use all Titan tungsten weights, but they make ounce and a quarter, ounce and a half, ounce and 3/4, and 2 ounces. But keep it simple, guys. Like I said, don't overthink it. An ounce and a quarter and a 2 ounce and a 3/4 will pretty much get you done across the board. But an ounce and a quarter for punching most of the gator tail, the hyacinth mats, things like that, the pennyworts.
Ounce
and a quarter will get the job done most of the time. We had a couple questions about. Here's one for you, Jake. Hook facing the head or the tail of the worm when you rig it wacky style, or do you even pay attention to that?
I don't. I don't pay attention to that. I honestly think that 9 times out of 10, if you really pay attention to a fish that you catch on a wacky rig, 9 times out of 10, you've got him so far down in the throat that it's.
A lot of times it's inside their upper lip.
Yes.
Right inside the upper lip and that tough part of the mouth.
I mean, yeah, obviously, yeah, you're going to hook them, right at the corner of the mouth, top lip, whatever. But 9 times out of 10, that hook is going to be buried down in there. And when they eat it, I don't think they're going to look at it and say, the hook is pointed towards the head of that worm. I'm not biting it. So I don't pay attention to that. Now, I may rig it half one way, half another sometimes, not realizing it, but I do not pay attention to which way the hook is pointing. As far as to the head or
I'm the same way, dude. I try to get it rigged as quick as I can and get it back in there, to be honest with you. Allison wants to know why you're being so quiet, Jeff. Would you like the mic?
Because what I'm trying to do is when you reference a question, I'm trying to display it on the screen. So
I saw that. I saw that.
It
we're
hurts.
trying to talk about the same thing.
It hurts. Oh, so I didn't do a gear review for Florida. Mine's pretty simple, pretty standard, but let me grab them here. I'm going to stay in my seat. Make it easy on Jeffrey, and that way everybody can hear me. Let's start off with the same old, and I hate to say that, but this is the old stick worm. I know nobody's ever seen one before, but similar to what. Glad the fan's not on, Jeff. You're telling me to hold it up higher?
Yep, there you go.
I'm glad the fan's not on, I said, because I just stuck my rod tip in.
I cut it off for that reason.
So, guys, I was using 2 different size weights, a 5/16 ounce and a 1/4 ounce Titan tungsten bullet sinker. I was pegging my weight. I was using a 3/0 and or a 4/0. This is actually an owner jungle hook. I like a straight shank hook personally when I'm throwing a stick bait, especially down in Florida. I was using it a couple different ways. The Lew's rod and reel, I was using a 7.6, actually heavy, with a I'm gonna lose my train of thought there on my reel there, but it's a high speed. I was using an 8-to-1, the Hypermag. Thank you, the Hypermag, Lew's Hypermag reel, and I was using 15 to 17 pound. Actually, I had 20 on one, 17 on one, and 15 on another P-Line Tactical fluorocarbon. And I was throwing that a couple different ways. So I was using the 5/16 actually when I was let me set that right there. When I was flipping pads, there's some different pad stretches that I was hitting on the main channel coming back in from my main area. But where I was catching them in the creek was a hard spot. It was a couple little rock piles, little shell beds, things like that. With the water down, there was a couple little areas in there that were holding a lot of fish. They didn't have anywhere else to go. My boat, the entire tournament was literally in 3.5 to 4.5 foot of water, sometimes 5 if it was deep, Yeah. And I was catching most of the fish in 2.5 to 3.5 foot of water on some of those hard spots. That's when I was going, because it was so shallow, I was going to a 1/4 ounce sinker. The 5/16 I was using for pitching around pads. I was using the 20-pound P-Line Tactical fluorocarbon around pads. I was using the 17 and the 15 fishing open water on some of those hard spots. The only reason I opted, what I did do is when the wind was blowing, first day we had a little wind, not bad, but
nothing
a 5
crazy.
to 10. Sometimes that's all it takes. I did catch the first day of that tournament some very key fish on a jerkbait. I threw 2 different jerkbaits. I did throw a Mega-Bass 110, and I threw the Lunker Hunt Sushi 110. You can see it right there in the color greenback.
Looks good.
Lew's titanium reel, 12 and 15 pound P-Line Tactical. And a lot of guys are thinking that's on a 7-foot medium action rod. And 12 and 15 pound, I would go to the 15. I would go to the 12 when I was jerking out there in the middle of the ditch, which was 4.5 to 5.5 feet deep. But I caught some fish, including a 4.5 pounder the very first day, in 2 foot of water on jerkbait. And that's when I went to that 15-pound P-Line Tactical. I was using a little bit bigger line. I upsized my hooks on my jerkbait. I was using a number 4 on the back and 5s on the front and middle.
Yep.
So down there, and Jake can attest to how mean some of those title fish are. But the bigger hooks, I definitely think were key. And, dude, I was catching everything on jerkbait. Funny story, because where I was fishing, I probably caught – I didn't catch that many during the tournament, 4 or 5 ladyfish. And last year, Kelly J., who was fishing in the same general area as I was, actually caught a tarpon in there. Now, he didn't land it. He got it up next to the boat, and it came off. But it was about a 4-foot tarpon. So that's something I've never seen in a
My roommate,
bass
Kyle
tournament
Monty,
before. caught
caught a stingray on a rattle trap in practice.
Did
No.
Did
in
he
the
bite it,
tournament.
or did he just hang it?
He just hung it, but still caught a stingray.
That's dude. There's everything in the St.
Yeah,
John's,
yeah.
everything. But all right, Clifford Caldwell said Matt's rod and reel giveaway go. We're not giving away a rod and reel tonight. We might do that in the future, but we are giving away a Gator Guards Kill Shield along with some Shiner Stash beef jerky, which hands down some of the best jerky I've ever put in my mouth. All right, let's see. Matt Newman, I seriously doubt Thrift's at Okeechobee watching. You think Thrift's at Okeechobee watching the show? Allison's watching the show. You think Thrift is, Jeff?
Well, yeah, they both could be. He didn't have. I think he watches under her, right?
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Maybe.
could
It
be.
is funny because they were talking about MLF touched on a little bit in the very first tournament
little
at
bit.
Thrift. A little bit. Did they touch on a lot?
They talked on a good bit.
About his OCD?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they zoomed in on his rods a couple times on his front deck, and they have no idea, though.
I believe that's the messiest we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was like
he had one
quarter
reel-
inch out.
Yeah, he had one reel handle turned a quarter inch
Yeah.
from the others, and I think they were starting to freak out about that a little bit. But so it is impressive, Jeff Browning, how he keeps that many rods lined up so perfectly.
I can't do it. I can't.
But yeah, the MLF guys were already touching base on how OCD he is, so that was quite funny. Let's see. All right, I saw a couple. Okay, is the snell? Sidney Reynolds. That's a good question. He wants to know: is the snell knot a positive factor when punching? Will a Palomar knot work just as well? You want to give your 2 cents on that, and then I'll give mine. I mean, I've got a theory on that, and honestly, a snell knot. The only time I use a snell knot is when I'm punching vertical cover.
You want me to be brutally honest with you?
Yep.
I don't know how to tie a snell knot.
Hey, that's what we like. We like brutal. Yeah, but everything's just YouTube away.
I live in Western North Carolina, and the closest piece of grass to any lakes there is people's front yard.
So have you ever punched? Have you ever had to punch in a?
I have, and I've done it. I've punched.
So you were using a Palomar knot?
Yes, and I never noticed any. Like I say, I hooked up with those fish just fine, got them in, and I'm sure there's a time and place for each knot. But
the only time I'll ever use a snell knot is when I'm actually punching vertical cover, whether it's a mat, sawdust mat, trash mat, whatever it may be. And the reason behind that for me is that a snell knot obviously causes that hook to kick straight out, just like that at a 90-degree angle. Okay. If you're pitching to a lay down or something that's more horizontal, and you're working that bait through, and a fish gets it, I don't want that hook to do this. Okay?
Yeah,
I don't want it to do that. I want it to do that when it's like this.
Yeah.
And there's only one way for your line to go. Okay?
Yeah.
If your line's at an angle,
Yeah.
I don't want that hook to go at that same angle. Does that make sense?
I agree.
All right. So that's my theory on it. The only time I use a snell knot is when I'm actually punching vertical cover. Thrift's actually the same way because we've discussed that on the show before. It's funny. Andrew Alexander said Patrick Walters and Kelly J had a very similar pattern to what I had. I know all about Kelly J's because we fished within sight of each other for pretty much the whole tournament, minus a few places we fished. We fished on the way in. But let's dive into some other questions here. Brian's lucky he's not here. We'd be giving him heck. Let's see. Vernon Kemp said, Matt, you and Jake should save your used plastic for a while and put it all in Thrift's boat and then video it. That's something to think about. We should take like every single worm we use for the entire 2020 season and just stuff it down in his live well or something. You know how mad he would be?
That's the most frustrating thing too. Is I bought all kinds of tackle for the St. John's. Several $100s worth of
and
tackle.
You used 5 packs of worms.
I used 5 packs of b.a.s.s worms that cost $5 a pack.
That's dude, that's the story of my life in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep it simple, like we said.
But I got it for next time. I got it.
Oh yeah, congrats to Reggie Floyd, by the way. Just purchased a brand new Ranger 2020 Z520 from Angler's Choice down up in Martinsville, Virginia. I think he dealt with Trent up there, and he said, thanks, Reggie, for the kind words. He said, hands down, the best dealership experience he's ever had, bar none. He said, shout out to Trent Bowles. So hopefully
deal.
Trent's watching.
Good deal.
I know Reggie's happy because he was sending me pictures of that brand new Ranger that he got. But pretty awesome. Let's talk about, so before, okay, Tyler Callaway, let's touch on that real quick.
Yep.
What do you guys think about moving the Chick tournament? Good call or bad? Or does it matter? Jake, you want to hit on that?
I think it was a great call. And just from watching the weather this week, I don't know that flooding was actually the main deal. Why they can't? I know the park where we were going to have weigh-ins and stuff was flooded,
right?
But they dropped the water. TVA does awesome at moving water through the system, but there was a lot of debris and stuff in the river, and just it's not just us fishing. I see a lot of guys saying, well, what are you guys scared? We're not scared of nothing. We'll fish. We'll do whatever. But we've got marshals riding with us. We've got camera guys riding with us.
There's a lot of other variables that
just
some people
water
don't.
level or fishing or whatever.
Yep. Safety
but
first.
I do think that it was a great move. I think the fishing would have been good. You would have seen good fish caught.
Yep.
It would have been tough, but it would have been, you would have seen good fish caught, like I said. But now that it's moved to March 19th through the 22nd, you're going to see what Chickamauga is really made of.
Yeah, I think, Lord willing, we don't get some crazy weather. Mother Nature's been throwing us some pretty nifty curveballs here lately. But if we don't get something crazy, the third week of March in Chickamauga could be stupid, for lack of a better term. I think it's going to be phenomenal. Luke Helms, we do have some makeup weeks for bass, but Chick has already been rescheduled.
Yep.
For March, I believe it's. Don't hold me to this. 19th through 21st.
22nd. 19th through 22nd.
Okay. And that's going to be a phenomenal tournament. That is going to be an absolutely awesome tournament.
And they do still have the makeup date that they did not even have to use for the Chick. So the makeup date is later, August, September.
It was later.
Something. I don't know what it is, but that is still available in case something crazy happens weather-wise, which is very possible. But, they did not use the makeup date.
Yeah, so the makeup date is still available. Let's go back to a question here. Jaron Brindley, excuse me, Jaron, want to know if tidal bass are more or less affected by cold fronts than normal lake bass. To me, river bass are not quite typically as affected by fronts or changing conditions. But when you're dealing with Florida strain bass, I do feel like those particular fish are affected a little bit more by cold fronts.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Yeah, just like you said. I mean, whether it's tidal fishery, lake fishery, or whatever, when you've got a cold front in Florida, that typically does not help anything.
Yeah. And it got cold. That's what a lot of people didn't realize. Like the first morning of our tournament, it was 32 degrees.
Now, maybe I would. The only thing that I would say about a tidal river bass is they get used to current, and current is always going to set up a bass. They're always going to relate to it, whether they're cold front, whatever. They're always going to relate to the current. Now, you may have to switch up tactics on how to catch
Getting them to bite,
but they're going to relate to current somehow.
Yeah,
unless it's during the spawn. Obviously they're going to get out of it, but whatever.
Josh Damari, I hope I said that right, Josh. He said, "How do you like to work a prop bait in Florida?" I tell you what. Josh, go to YouTube and you can just search Bassmaster St. John's 2019 Matt Arey, whatever. I caught quite a few of my key fish last year on a prop bait, and there's a couple clips on YouTube of me catching a couple fish in the 2019 St. John's River event on a prop bait, and you can see exactly how I was working it on there. Does that vary? A little bit, but typically when those Florida strain largemouth get ready to bite a prop bait, pretty standard retrieve. I throw it out there. I let the ripples settle. I rip it once or twice, let it settle once or twice, let it settle. When they're ready to eat that prop bait, they're gonna eat it. And you don't want to work it super fast, but at the same time, you'll know real quick when they're ready. That prop bait bite It didn't evolve for me.
Did you
this
throw
year.
it any in practice?
I threw it a lot. I caught so the last day of practice
Yeah.
when things seemed to start changing.
Yeah.
I had a big one eat it in that place we was talking about,
Yeah.
and I had another one eat it in another place.
Yeah.
Now I only had 2 bites on it, but I knew that if things would start to evolve a little bit more and the weather would continue to warm up, that thing could have been a big factor. I do think there was a couple guys that caught a handful of fish on a prop bait during the tournament. Always is in Florida, but it was not a deciding factor in the tournament. So that was something I was a little disappointed in because there's nothing better than watching a 6 or 7 pound Florida strain largemouth
roll up on it
and slurp down a prop bait. But Mike Harris, you're right. He said Glad Thrift isn't there because he hates river fishing. Yeah, he wouldn't want us to talk about river fishing. So next topic is we're going to jump into talking about the Bassmaster Classic. I've seen a few questions. Jeff, did you nail down any of those questions about Okay, here's one from Anthony Randall. What's up, Anthony? Anthony's one of our regular viewers, and we appreciate you, Anthony, always joining in, man. He wants to know our classic picks. Top 5. Wants to know our top 5 classic picks. So...
Oh, gosh.
Jake, I'm going to let you start since you're the guest, and give us your top 5 classic picks. We could talk about a weight, too. Weight prediction could be all over the map. It's still Guntersville.
Yeah.
It's still the first week of March.
Yeah.
It's going to take a big bag to win.
Yeah.
And but let's jump on excuse me. Real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, Anthony. We'll jump right back into that question. Thoughts and prayers with Ryan Newman and his family because last night my wife and I actually turned that race on. My wife, who is a big NASCAR fan, and I was always kind of a NASCAR fan, but kind of married into a hardcore NASCAR fan family. And she, as a matter of fact, Emily was one of the ones that had that black tank top that says "Rubbing is Racing," and she wanted to sit down there next to the fence where the rubber hits you coming off the tires from the track. That's right. Yep. But anyway, Jeff's over here shaking his head, but she's hardcore, dude. She loves her NASCAR. Her daddy, Dunk, my father-in-law loves his NASCAR. They're big-time NASCAR fans. And last night, it was funny because we were getting ready. I think we were getting ready to give the girls a bath or something. And she said, "It's a green-white checker. It's green-white checker. Got to watch the race." And we turned it on only to see that finish. Yeah. And when I saw that wreck, I said,
didn't look good.
It wasn't the first part of the wreck. It was even though the first part of the wreck looked like Earnhart's wreck when he died, but the impact he took from the car after that was pretty gut wrenching. And thankful he's going to be okay, from what I understand. Yes. But thoughts and prayers out to Ryan Newman and his family because that's a pretty scary little incident he went through last night. But I think Lord willing he's gonna be okay. So. All right, back to the question. Top 5 picks for the Guntersville Classic.
Yeah.
You've had time to think about it now, Jake.
Yeah. I'm going to go with a couple Alabama guys right off the giddy.
Oh.
You got to. Okay. You have to. Okay. You have to. Matt Herron.
Yep.
Canterbury. Got to.
I'm not going to disagree with either one of those.
Scott, should know he knows Guntersville
He knows a thing or two about Guntersville.
Shane LaHue. Shane LaHue has a great track record on Guntersville.
Okay.
He gets that place really well. He does well there. Gosh, Zaldane. He's
gonna put him in there
he's hungry.
He didn't have a great tournament at St. Johns River, so he's going to be prepared for Guntersville. And gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you picked 4. Is that 4?
Paul Mueller. Paul Mueller, biggest stringer of bass in a classic.
That's a statistic that we disregarded.
Yes.
That Mueller has weighed in. It was 30. Was it 34?
34 something.
34 pounds. Last time when Randy Howell won the Bassmaster Classic, Mueller made a run at that joker and weighed in 34 pounds of bass.
Yes.
And that to this day is still the largest 5 bass stringer ever weighed in a single day in the Classic. So, the thing about this Classic is there are guys fishing this classic, and I'm not saying the guys before weren't, that are as hungry
Sure.
to compete, to do well as a lot of guys that have been around the game a lot longer. And myself, I look, I want to win the classic as much as anybody. It's something I grew up dreaming about and watching when I was a kid. The first thing I ever watched on TV was Bassmasters television on TNN, and but there's a lot of really, I'm not going to say underrated, I'm going to say unknown fishermen. They don't have the household names yet, but the talent, I promise you, is there.
It's there.
I'm sitting across from one of them, as a matter of fact, right now. I mean, this guy won Rookie of the Year, made the Classic his first year on the Elites, and made another Classic. And it's going to be an interesting tournament to say the least. But it's going to take a lot of weight to win. Obviously, Canterbury. And I'm partial to Canterbury. He's my roommate on tour, but definitely one I would look out for, hands down. I think there's a lot of good fishermen out there, but then there's guys that know how to close too, and especially close under pressure. Cobb is one of those guys. Cobb, to me, definitely. I don't know what his track record is at Guntersville, but it doesn't really matter because in the Classic, everybody's going there for one reason, and that's to win. And guys that have experience winning definitely have an advantage. I don't care what anybody says; they definitely have an advantage because the majority of the biggest weapon in our arsenal, and you can agree with me, is right here. And there's some guys fishing this Classic that have that weapon, and that's definitely an advantage over some of the young guys, some of the rookies, some of the first-timers. Zaldane would be another one. I hate to echo what you're saying, but definitely would be another one. Billy Beatty said Brian New. Well, New's not fishing this Classic, Billy. He's fishing the 2021 Classic. And I'm going to go ahead and say Brian New might be a favorite to win the 2021 Classic. But, Andrew Alexander said watch out for Cody Huff. Yeah, so that's the college boy.
He's good.
Who's been making waves lately.
He's good.
And doing very well. And we'll see, historically speaking, and maybe this will help fuel Cody's fire a little bit more, but historically speaking, a lot of the college guys that have qualified for the Classic, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say it probably did have a lot to do with the pressure and the big stage and the big audience and the nerves. And that goes back to what I was talking about a minute ago about the mentality of a guy who's fished for years and years and years on the big stage. But this kid is obviously a killer stick. Yeah. He's a great fisherman. He could definitely be dangerous and one to look for. So those are how many have I picked, Jake? 4? 5?
Sure, 4. Give us one more.
I got to give you one more. Andrew Alexander, that's a good one. I'm going to go with Andrew Alexander saying Clint Davis.
Yep.
And Clint Davis is one
of my picks.
Clint's one of your picks?
I mean, he's an Alabama boy.
He's an Alabama boy, and I don't know how many Alabama guys are actually in the Classic, but it seems like there's quite a few.
There's
of them.
a few.
And but Clint won the Forest Wood Cup, and he knows how to win big level events. He fishes. I give it to Clint's funny because he trips me out, man. He doesn't have a care in the world when he's out there fishing, and sometimes that's the most dangerous thing out there. He fishes very openly, very carefree, and is willing to change on the fly. And he's got the same mentality as anybody that's been fishing for a while. He's going to the Classic with one thing on his mind, and that's just to win the tournament. No care in the world, just to win the tournament. Neil Paul, thank you. I left him out, but Brandon Lester, I don't know how I can leave Lester out. Lester, he's never won an elite event, has he? Lester?
No.
Okay, but he's been super close like 25 times. He's like the Aaron Martins out there, okay? Lester is probably one of the most well-rounded anglers out there, and it's just a matter of time before that guy wins the tournament. Brandon's a good friend and a great angler, and he will definitely be making waves at the 2020 Classic. Yeah, Brian New, that's right, Vernon Kemp. He's a Brian New pressure's on now. We called Brian out to win the 2021 Classic, but New actually told me, which I haven't even qualified for yet, but this is what he told me, Jay. He said, you're going to be fishing for second at the 2021 Classic. He told me that, man, after he won. I'm calling you out, New, because you're not here to defend yourself.
I'm pretty sure he's the only one qualified for it right
Correct.
now.
Correct.
So is the first and only.
He is the only one qualified for the 2021 Classic right now. So, but we'll get it. Lord willing that I qualify for it, maybe we'll have a little fun brotherly side bet or something going down. Like some of the, what do they call those? The Calcuttas at the big offshore tournaments, the redfish tournaments. They have Calcuttas. We'll get a Calcutta going, New. Me and you, just me and you, New. Nobody else, just me and you.
I'll be in on that.
You and I. Excuse me. You and
I'll be in on that. Well, just because y'all didn't, I've got a couple picks that y'all didn't mention. Starting with the two guys at this table, you're not picking yourselves.
Can't pick ourselves, man. Come on.
I can pick you because I think y'all both are going to go down there and do really well. Obviously, you're coming off a good event. Confidence levels up.
Sure.
Second classic, first classic.
Momentum is a big deal in this game.
Absolutely.
Hands down. And we talked about that before we went to Florida, and I talked about that with Emily, and coming off a good tournament in the first event of the year, because for me, you're used to it. But for me, our championship, the Forest Wood Cup, was always after the season ended.
Yeah.
You got to kind of mentally reset
Yep.
and get prepared, not only physically and with your equipment and your pre-practice and things like that, but mentally you got to kind of reset and focus on one deal.
Yeah.
But with the elites, it's a little different.
Yeah.
You got to kick the season off on a high note, and then you got to go fish the biggest tournament of your career.
Yeah. Then
Then you got to kick right back into the season.
Yeah.
So preparation has been a little off for me. Not off, but it's been a little different.
And the Classic itself is not like a regular elite event.
Not nowhere near.
We practice 3 days, pretty much a week before the tournament even starts, and then we get 1 day before the tournament, and then you got all the fanfare and all that stuff to go along with it. So, and dude, I mean, even last year, experiencing it last year, I took a lot of that in, but I mean, it's still hard to prepare for that tournament. Just as far as getting everything, all your ducks in a row, and being prepared, and practice, fan stuff, media stuff, practice again, dinner.
That's going to be different
and then
for me too.
And fishing, and then it's only a 3-day tournament.
Yeah, so that's the cup used to be about half the cups I fished were 4 days.
Yeah.
And in August too, which you can imagine those are grinders. This event being only 3 days, and having your practice start literally 8 days before the event.
Pretty much, yeah.
Then you have the 3 days, then you have the 2 days off, and then you have the official practice day with the champions dinner that night, then the media day, and then, so it's gonna be different for me.
Yeah.
I'm super excited about it, man. I can't wait, but yeah, that's gonna be a fun week, man. I'm looking forward to it.
It's great.
You fished
great.
one, so
it's great.
You're a wily veteran over there.
Let me tell you about it.
And so the first classic you fished, where was it?
Last year, Fort Loudon.
Loudon. That's right.
Yep.
I forgot where I forgot where the last class. That's bad.
Yep.
I forgot where the last classic was, but that's why you're here to remind me. Anything you want to add? Let's talk about weight predictions for the classic, and I know they can be all over the map, but give me a 3-day weight prediction for to win the 2020 classic.
It all depends on the weather that week. As far as I'm seeing right now, it's not going to be too drastic, but
I haven't even looked at it. I'm scared to even look at it.
You have to say over 20 a day, 22 a day at least.
So 66?
60, somewhere between 60 and 65 pounds.
I haven't looked at. Have you looked at the weights from any recent tournaments down there?
I have not.
Like that? Okay.
I'm pretty sure the BFL down there a couple weeks ago was pretty tough, but that was the week where it was like 30 degrees.
Okay, it got super cold.
Yeah.
March at Guntersville, man, it's going to take over 60.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if it took upper 60s.
Yeah.
I think the fish are obviously in there. That lake just blows my mind because every time I think it's in a downswing, I mean, here comes 20-pound bag after 20-pound bag after 20. And it was fishing. I think it was fishing a little tough when we were there last year.
Yeah.
But March, dude, the fish are as big as they're going to be all year.
Yep.
I don't think any fish will be spawning yet.
Should have a little dirty water.
Should have. This is the high dirty water.
Yeah.
Time of year, and it's showing itself all over the southeast. I mean, every lake around here is high. It's stained. Going to be a lot of current.
They bite. I mean, it's just
they're going to bite.
They bite.
Yep, they're going to bite. And Brad Root, he asked about hot to faux fishing it. That typically is the case.
Yes.
You want to explain that deal?
Yeah. So typically previous winners automatically guaranteed into the next year's classic, but since Ott did not fish the Elite Series this year or fish any the opens or anything, he is not guaranteed in. Do I agree with that? Yes and no. I would like to see the previous winner get up, but given the situation, yeah, that's
a little sticky.
Yeah, I mean,
that would have been.
And Ott is one of the greatest guys.
Ott
is
he's
awesome.
Man. He's awesome.
Every run in or any instance that I've been able to talk to Ott, he's been nothing but great to me. And he's one of the best anglers on planet,
hands down.
But the rules are the rules, and
that's not like a rule that Bass threw out there because of all the things that transpired over the past 6 or 8 months. That rule was already in place. Clint Davis, matter of fact, won the Forest Wood Cup.
That's
and
correct.
Then he was part of our group that got invited from FLW to fish bass.
Yep.
When he accepted that invitation, he forfeited his right to fish the next cup.
Yep.
Because he wouldn't be able to compete in the FLW tour the following year. So, I see a lot of similar guesses. 62, 63, 65, a lot of mid-60s, yeah. So that's, 65. Dude, if I could catch 65 over 3 days, I'd take my chances. 65 would be – that'd be a pretty
give me your winning bait. That way I can have it tied on.
Winning bait. Man. And you're going to yell at me because
just take 5 bags of worms.
You got it.
You're going to yell at me when I tell you winning bait. A guy's not going to win this tournament on one bait. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now,
agree.
right here.
It's
March. If a guy goes out there and he literally weighs in 15 fish on one bait, Jake,
he deserves it.
I'll give you all the rods and reels and the baits and all that I brought tonight. You can write that down. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch. It'll happen now that I promised Jake a bunch of rods and reels and baits. But Jeff Browning said Damiki rig. I can almost 100.
It won't be a worm.
27% guarantee it won't be a Damiki rig at Lake Guntersville.
It won't be a worm.
Josh White said 66.7. That's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
That's actually what I was thinking. The same number.
66.7.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I like that.
Yep. Shout out to Thrift, Swin Zone, Jelly Worm. I'm seeing all kinds. Stinger ain't gonna win. I just don't think a soft plastic. I think it's gonna be something in the lipless crankbait, chatterbait.
Power fishing.
A jerkbait could catch a few big ones.
Yep.
And a jig. Those are gonna be my 5 go-tos.
Yep.
A bladed jig, a crankbait, a lipless crankbait. Big spinnerbait now might play.
Yeah,
A big spinnerbait might play, and some sort of flipping bait, whether it's a jig or a creature bait, something like that. And a big swim bait. I do think a big swim bait, given the right conditions. We get a little warm weather.
Yeah.
I mean, that you're gonna see that big swim, and maybe even some big glide baits, and things like that play.
Well, and notoriously, the fish on Guntersville this time of year don't live that deep.
100%. And I don't know if you.
I don't have a ton of experience on Guntersville, but I know they don't live that.
Some tournaments in the past that come to mind. There's fish caught in February down there in less than 3 foot of water.
Sure,
and big ones too. The biggest thing, I like that, Andrew. He said the AFCO slugworm. Yeah, so that's funny. But I agree. I think mid-60s. DT6, a little old DT6 could be a big player, Brian. You're right. The ball and chain. Anthony, I might disagree there. Our guys on the elites, as far as I know, do everything in their power to not have to throw a Carolina rig. Wait. Hold on a second. Didn't you catch some last year at St. John's
Sure
with
did.
a Carolina rig?
Sure did.
I saw you throwing a Carolina
did.
rig, and when I rode by you, I said, "There's a boy throwing a Carolina
and
rig."
the only reason is because my dad loves to throw a Carolina rig with a lizard on it.
Catches them, dude.
And he wears them out with
I
it.
can't stand throwing it, but it catches them. It catches them. 100% catches them. Matter of fact, Arnold Ledford, who passed away, he used to he ran all the Thursday night tournaments down here at Lake Moss Lake, and ran them since I was a kid. And dude, I could never get in his boat or he get in my boat or see him fishing when he wasn't chunking a Carolina rig lizard. And it had its time and place, and when it had its time and place and you weren't throwing it, you're going to get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
You're just simply put, you're going to get your butt kicked. Yeah, I do think a swim bait, that wasn't in my top 5, but I do think a swim bait is going to be a big player, hands down. I've seen some really big fish caught on a swim bait at Guntersville over the years. And I hope everybody's going to be down there because that's going to be an awesome tournament. 50th annual Bassmaster Classic. Lake Guntersville, what better place to host the 50th annual Classic? And going to be a strong field, obviously, but going to be some big fish brought to the stage. Big fish. Biggest fish, what do you think? Biggest fish going to be weighed in during the Classic? Think there'll be a 9-pounder brought in?
I don't know. I'll go over 8. I don't know about a 9. I'll say 8.
Jeff?
7-9.
7-9.
Ah.
I'm gonna go with the 8-pounder. I think there'll be an 8-pounder caught. There's been some great big fish pulled out of Guntersville the last few, and when they're pulled out, it's between January and the end of March.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be there prime time to see an 8-pounder come across the stage, and if anybody can do it, these guys can do it. Drop shot. Stephen Guthrie said a drop shot.
Good luck.
Interesting. You know what? If it got like crazy, stupid tough, there's actually a pretty good population of spotted bass in Guntersville now where you can actually catch a 14 to 16 pound bag of them.
Sure.
Will that win the Classic? Probably not. But if something, I'm looking at Mr. Wilson and he looks like he's spawning. Yeah. He turned up to look at you now, but he was like
he got
nose down on the rocks.
He's been living in a 150-gallon tub for 2 weeks.
150 gallon. Oh yeah. So we didn't even tell anybody, but they can't see the floor. But poor Jeff, while Brian and I were out of town fishing,
Matt Newman said Jeff just talked. I'm just sitting here listening to him. Have at it. I got nothing to add.
Well, I'll tell him what happened, and then hey, we're lucky to be in this studio. So when that torrential monsoon came for 3 days or something,
It rained like 70 inches in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Our poor studio, Jeff's office/studio, which this is a house behind his house, basically, a guest house, more or less.
It was.
Or office/studio, whatever you want to call it, got flooded. The floor had, how much water did the floor have in it?
In this corner right here, about 4 inches.
Yeah, so.
I opened the door and water went out.
The entire floor in this entire studio and office space is brand new. And that all happened in the past, 5 days?
Yes.
In the past 5 days. He sent me pictures when I was still on the road of them completely tearing out the floor. So big shout out to Mr. Jeffrey Walsh.
New floors, new paint.
Painted the walls.
Wow,
too.
new paint.
Yep.
Cool.
And
it used to be brown.
We have a different table position. Nobody's even mentioned that tonight.
We're just trying something new.
Yeah,
just
a
little more conversational, maybe. We're just trying things out.
No, Andy, the fish tank is still intact. It's just over here to the side. It's offset a little bit. That was one of the things we were kind of playing with tonight, angle of the table, and
but the tricky thing was I didn't have anywhere to put all this stuff, so I moved everything over there. We laid the floor down. Mr. Wilson got put in a 150-gallon Rubbermaid tank on dollies. We were just wheeling him around, and we would just move everything around and put floor under where it wasn't, and then move it back.
He looks happy.
It was he was good. He was.
He's got a tank full of goldfish. Yeah. So he's happy.
He was good.
We're pretty sure Leslie fed him like 2,000 goldfish today because I've never looked in that aquarium after he's been fed. And there's
she
actually
always comes back. She says, "I think they gave me more, like 200 fish."
We usually feed him like
64.
40 to 60. Okay, 64 feeder fish. And he devours every single one of them in 5 minutes, under 5 minutes. And I walked in tonight, and his gut is about to explode. And there's about, how many goldfish would you say are still in there, Jeff? Jake? 15?
10 or 15, yeah, probably.
Yeah, at least a dozen still swimming around in there. And he acts like he doesn't have a care in the world about them. So
she probably brought back a cool 100.
A cool 100.
Anthony Randall, I love his honesty. He says, "Table sucks this way, guys."
But no, we like honesty. We like honesty because
this is the orientation we started the show back in 2017.
Yeah, Jeff Davis said he misses seeing the tank with Wilson in it. So we might switch it back up.
I'm not moving that tank for a while.
No, that's fine. We can adjust the table though.
Jerker weighs a ton.
Yeah, I'll help you, buddy. I'm back in town now. We'll help you. All right. Everybody said, by the way, Andy Baker, Josh White, they all said great job.
Brian New
Jeff.
says, I was thinking the same thing. What are you thinking? You just need to be thinking about beating Matt in 2021 in the Classic.
Yeah.
Because he already called you out.
We're going to get a side bet.
And
I got to qualify first. I ain't qualified first.
Calcutta put on it.
A Calcutta.
And I'm in on that, by the way.
Even if I don't qualify, I'm going to still do some side betting with somebody. We're gonna get a little ring going.
I got
here.
a feeling you might be able to sneak in there. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah.
Jonathan Carter wants to know one more. What time is it, Jeff?
Like 8:07.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
I'm hungry.
Time flies when you're having fun. Jonathan, one more question from Jonathan Carter. Wants to know what our favorite ditch fishing bait is for spotted bass, Jake. Fishing ditches. Jonathan fishes down there at Lake Hartwell, Clarks Hill, some of those lakes. And I'm going to let you go first because I bet mine's probably different than yours. But fishing a ditch for spotted bass on, some of the lakes he fishes around, Hartwell, Clarks Hill.
If I know there's fish in the ditch and I'm not just covering water trying to find them, a jig.
Okay, we're actually closer than I thought.
I drag a jig.
Okay.
Football jig, whatever. The typical fish head spins, swim baits are great. But sometimes I feel like a jig gets a little bit bigger bite than
All right, I'm going to I like the jig answer because, people thinking fish head spin, single swim bait, little Kitex, paddle tails, things like that. That's great and all, but, dude, I have caught more big fish out of those ditches on some kind of stand-up jig head with a trick worm on there.
Yep.
Green pumpkin or black trick worm.
Yep.
And a lot of times people make the mistake of scanning those ditches and looking for fish.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those places that you just ain't going to see.
Well, and I don't know about your experience. A lot of times sometimes those fish will be sucked down so far on the bottom you won't see them.
That's what I'm saying. You
can't see them.
You can't see them.
And
you'll go to dragging that jig through there. Dude, you can even take your worm or your jig or whatever, and you can pitch it out right underneath your trolling motor.
Yeah.
Use your trolling motor to bump your boat through that ditch, and you'll hook one. You'll never see him,
Yeah.
but you'll hook one, and when you hook him, then watch your graph. Yep, your graph just lights up. And then you're like, God, wonder why I couldn't see those fish. And I don't care how good your sonar is or your downscan or whatever. Lowrance has the best target separation of any 2D sonar out there. It's the clearest out there. And it downscan also. And I'll argue that any day of the week. But in some of those ditches down there, because of the way the side's set up and the way those fish set up, dude, you can't see them.
Yeah.
You just can't see them. So, shaky head worm and a dang jig. If you know they're there, like
Jonathan
Jake said,
says, shh, I didn't ask for all that.
Hey, dude,
You asked
a question on Let's Talk Fish, you get the goods. Okay, you get the goods. This is hilarious because not only are we getting answers to the trivia question that we haven't even asked, but I've got 2 messages pop up on my Facebook page from people saying, "What's the answer to the trivia question, Matt?" I'm not giving you the answer to the trivia question.
We are 95% sure it's right. So it could
Wait,
be
wait,
wrong.
Our answer's right.
Yeah, our answer's right.
True,
we don't know
true.
about everybody else's.
True.
All right, so tonight's giveaway, we still got about 250 viewers on here. We got 300 and something tonight, so that was good. Guys, we appreciate everybody, and gals, we appreciate everybody tuning in. So it is trivia question time. Jake, you got anything to add before we get into the trivia question?
I don't. I do, actually. Get on Fantasy Fishing on Bassmasters and play.
There you go.
That's a lot of fun. A lot of good prizes to win.
I know. I tried to sign up the other day. I couldn't.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't know we weren't eligible to play.
Yeah, we can't play, unfortunately.
Really?
Well, can I sign up under, like, Jeff's name?
Get your wife to play.
Really, Pete Rose? You didn't
Get your
know that?
daughters to play.
Pete Rose. I hear you. All right. I did want to play, actually, because...
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and... it's funny because the first event at the St. John's did not shake out to very many fantasy fishing team players there, and that's what I love about fantasy fishing because when you have conditions like that, dude, you could throw all those pundits' picks out the window. A lot of times you can throw them out the window anyway because the thing about the Elite Series now is there's so much unrecognized talent. It's crazy, dude. There's so many young kids like Jake Whitaker, Patrick Walters, Drew Cook. I mean, I could go on and on and on. But there's a lot of phenomenal fishermen that just they don't have the credibility yet,
Yeah.
because they haven't been fishing for 20 years. But these kids are good. They're hungry. They're unbelievable fishermen, super versatile. They're way more advanced than I've ever been with my electronics, with their electronics. So, yeah, it's a fun game to play. Everybody should participate in fantasy fishing. All right, Jake, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed it.
And you're a lot more fun than Thrift, but no. I can say whatever.
I don't know about all that.
We got a special surprise for Thrift when he comes back too.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
It did all we could do not to show it tonight.
We do, y'all. And I'm sorry. I want to apologize because I do have a little video clip that I absolutely cannot wait to unveil.
It's actually pretty funny.
It's awesome. I think it's unbelievable. So when Thrift's back, and I'm on the show obviously too. We're not going to show it without both of us present. I don't think Thrift's going to do a show without me anyway.
Has to be. You both have to be.
Yeah,
here.
I have to be here.
It's good.
We will. We got a treat for y'all, for lack of a better word. We got a treat for y'all. All right.
Says he's throwing in 3 bags of jerky tonight, right? That's what he just said.
Swin did
3 bags.
3 bags of jerky. Swin is throwing in 3 bags of Shiner Stash jerky with the giveaway. Guys, the giveaway is for a Gator Guards Kill Shield. And real quick, and I think we were talking the other day, I think you run a Kill Shield too,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Florida, Guntersville, anywhere there's shallow water. Guys, the Kill Shield has, it's saved my hull. It literally has saved my hull multiple times. I had to do this. The last Forest Wood Cup I practiced, I was out there practicing, and I had to change a prop, and I pulled up on the bank, just ran my boat up on a pea gravel bank, and was able to change my prop out without damaging my hull. But Gator Guards Kill Shield, they got a lot of cool products, guys. They got not just the Kill Shield, but go online and check them out, gator-guards.com. We're going to give away one of those Kill Shields tonight. They're easy to install. They're American-made. They come in a lot of different cool colors. You can go on YouTube. There's 2 or 3 videos on there. Actually, Jarrett Edwards, I believe, did a video on there about installing a Kill Shield one time, and it's super easy to install, and they're very affordable. But giveaway tonight will be valued at probably close to $200 with the beef jerky thrown in there, I'd say. At least $200. So, all right. I'm going to let Jake, since Jake gave us the answer, ask the trivia question. The first person, Jeff is in charge. The first correct answer that comes across Jeff's feed is the winner, okay?
Only
Jake,
because I thought of the question.
You did not. Jake thought of the question.
I was standing in the door, and I said, "Here's a good question." Y'all like, "Well, how are we gonna find the answer?"
Is that true? I feel like Jake.
Oh my
came up
gosh, a long time ago.
0 credit.
with- All right.
0 credit.
Here we go.
0 credit.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Here goes a trivia question for a Gator Guards Kill Shield.
213 years. I already got it.
And 3 wrong. And 3 bags of Shiner Stash jerky. Go, Jake.
How many anglers are making their first Bassmaster Classic appearance at Lake Guntersville?
Which we thought that was a pretty dang awesome question.
It's a good question.
Yeah, and that's why I think Jake came up with it. I don't think.
Yeah, he definitely did. He definitely did.
Angela
First
Mayo.
appearance.
Hey, Angela. She said, "Swin, we need some of that bacon candy." That bacon candy. So Swin, who is the owner of Shiner Stash Jerky, makes a bacon jerky. It's bacon candy, and dude, it is like, oh man. I mean, it's like it's like bacon. I mean, everybody loves bacon,
oh my
but it's like a
gosh.
dessert.
It really is.
I mean, I can't describe it. It's heaven in your mouth is all I can say. Bacon candy. I mean, it's exactly what it says. It's bacon candy. But yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. All right, I got answers rolling in. I already see a couple that are. Josh White said 55. I don't even think there's 55 people in the Classic, Josh. We'll forgive you this one time.
You got them on your feed?
Oh, do you know the answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Why are you taking my phone?
Because this feed is too fast.
Well, I was going to go back to some questions. Jake, you want to scroll back and find us a question to answer?
Oh,
while we're waiting on the correct answer for the trivia question.
sure. Jake, do you have khakis on? No, I don't.
Khakis. They want to know if you're thrifting it with the cargo shorts or something.
Yeah. And I don't have cargo shorts on, but that's my go-to. Camo cargos for the win.
Wait a minute. I see like a lot of Gallops on here answering. I see Mark. I see Amanda. I wonder if that's Bruce on Amanda's or if that's Amanda's gift. he's answering every single number.
I'm sure there's an answer. I just got to find it.
Them Redfish boys, of all people, they need a kill shield worse than
Yes.
anybody. I can guarantee you that. They're always running their boats up on oyster beds and all kinds of stuff. But, God, I see some really, really, really
There's got to be one on here.
good answers.
There's every
But
number
I don't
under
see the right
sun.
one yet. Yeah. So, all right. I'm still not seeing one.
This thing moves so fast, it's tough.
Let's see. Andy Baker, you have no idea. He said I watched Thrift's live. He said he watched Thrift live at the last MLF that you follow. His hook set is something else, dude. There's actually a YouTube video if you go online and search Bryan Thrift hook set.
It's impressive.
The one that hits him in the back of the head?
Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. I could watch that thing all day long. And I did. I watched it on replay. I don't even think you've seen it, Jeff. But Thrift has...
He doesn't cut him no slack.
He doesn't cut him any slack, dude. And he has the most unorthodox, crazy hook set of anybody I've ever seen. And he catches every single one of them, dude. Never loses one.
He's got to have a path wore out on the front of that Ranger where he sets a hook and then runs or walks.
Dude, I've never seen him set the hook and not go at least
a couple steps.
dang close to the cockpit there. I don't understand how we hadn't had a correct answer
We've
yet.
got to have a correct answer. I'm just trying to scroll back.
I don't see one, dude.
Because every time somebody answers,
I'm still looking,
resets the feed.
looking.
So the first one I see is going to win.
Oh, I see one. I see one right here.
We'll call it. I give you the power.
All right. We've got a winner. All right. First of all, the answer is 28. The first one that I saw come across the feed is Josh White. Josh White, you are the champion. The answer was 28. I saw every other answer in the world. I saw 27, 26, 29, 30, 43.
Over half the field.
Yeah, so what's so interesting about... So Josh White is the champion. The answer was 28. Josh is still guessing, too. It must be that delay that we're on. So that... I don't know. I just got a weird message on Facebook. I was reading it. Sorry. But the weird thing about that is it 52? How many guys in the
I
Classic?
think there's 53 now.
53 guys in the Classic.
I think. Don't hold me.
28 of them will be their first Classic.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. And I know several of those guys are rookies. A lot of them are guys which we're not considered rookies. I know the crew. A lot of them are the crew that came over from FLW.
Yep.
But that's a pretty big number, and that is a lot. The James Bryant, and that's what we're saying. That's pretty amazing. But we got to wrap up the show. Jeff said he's hungry. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Congrats again to you, Jake, for your top 5 finish coming off.
Same to you.
Coming
That's
off
awesome.
St. John's.
I'll take it.
Congrats again to Smoke, who's not here tonight, on his second place finish down at Lake Eufaula in the MLF. Good luck to Smoke down at Lake Okeechobee, which should be an interesting event because I think they've plugged the 2-pound minimum on that lake too, which Okeechobee could be. Dude, I've been down there days when I've caught 100 and maybe not 100, but a lot, and I ain't had a 2-pound.
Well, you look at weights. There's a lot of 8-pound limits that get caught at Okeechobee.
And their big one's a 2-pounder.
Yeah.
So, good luck to Thrift down there at Okeechobee. And we will hopefully see y'all next Tuesday. Fingers crossed, Thrift will be back. Well, actually, when does that event start?
I don't even know if they've started practicing yet. Did they
think
practice today? I don't think so.
I don't think it starts until
I think it is next
Friday?
week.
He may not be back next Tuesday.
I'm supposed to be in Richmond Monday.
All right,
I'm not sure.
We will do our absolute best. I actually
We'll
leave a week from Thursday to head down to the Classic, and so does Jake.
Yep.
We'll do our best to be back in the studio next Tuesday, guys and gals. But if we're not, forgive us. But we will have an update for you as soon as we get back from the Bassmaster Classic, and hopefully it's a good update. it'll be good regardless if we win or not. But we're going down there for one reason, and hopefully we can bring that Bassmaster Classic trophy back to North Carolina. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Jake, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
We will hopefully see y'all next Tuesday. Congrats to Josh White for winning the Gator Guards Kill Shield and the Shiner Stash beef jerky. We'll get Josh's shipping information to send it to us on our Facebook page. But when we can't, do you know our sign off, Jake?
I don't.
Oh.
Second time guest, guys.
Second time guest. First time viewer, second time guest.
Yeah.
No. When we can't go fishing, we'll sit right here and talk fish. Guys, appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Fish. Visit our private Facebook group to continue the conversation, post your questions, and talk with other fellow anglers at facebook.com/groups/Let's Talk Fish. Follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk Fish Official and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more exclusive content. Join us again next episode for more actionable tips, tactics, and techniques directly from the pros. And remember, when we can't go fishing, we're going to sit right here and talk fish.